The top story with the raging controversy over an Air India flight being delayed and 3 passengers offloaded to accommodate the Minister of State for Home Kiren Rijiju and the Jammu and Kashmir Deputy Chief Mr. Nirmal Singh. The Prime Minister's office has now stepped in and asked for a full report on this incident and other incidents of Air India flights being delayed because of VIP travels in the recent past. And in fact, Kiren Rijiju, speaking to Barkha Dutt, has apologized for any inconvenience to passengers offloaded and said if they were wrong, he has also told the pilot that he will say sorry.
Sir, there's a perception that even if Air India was at fault, let's assume for a moment it was the airline's fault. There is a perception, and you know, this happened in Mumbai also when Devendra Fadnavis was to travel to America. His aide forgot his passport. Tabhi flight delay hua. There is a perception that sir, that Air India can't be professional because netas and VIPs control it.
Barkha, you have to understand one thing clearly.
Yes.
If somebody has made the flight delayed because of late arrival and all, then there's no excuse. What I'm saying is the original flight timing has been scheduled. Please try to understand this Leh incident, that the flight has been preponed by nearly 1 hour. Please don't forget that part. The original timing of the departure is different from what has been scheduled on that particular time.
Sir, who informed you about the original time? Because when we looked up the flight schedule, it showed 10:20 a.m. as the departure.
Yes, that is why it will show now because they have rescheduled it. Whatever they have rescheduled, it will appear like that. But you see, you can ask the Deputy CM and other passengers, look at their admit card, their boarding pass. It shows clearly that boarding will start at 10:45. Accordingly, you make your arrangement and other programs related to the flight timing. This part, you should please don't miss this part. The original timing of the aircraft, which is very important while we understand the whole issue.
Yes.
Otherwise, there's no excuse if because of you, if the flight is delayed, it's no excuse. There should be
Sir,
no
let me put it to you differently. Let's agree for a moment that the airline was at fault. It did not inform the passengers of a new timing. Let's agree, even though there are question marks over it, let's assume for a moment that's what happened. If you and Nirmal Singh were not powerful people in the political system and you were just ordinary tourists in Leh and you had reached the airport late, there is no way that the pilot would have been convinced to open the door of an aircraft for you. So isn't this smacking of VIP muscle flexing, sir?
Exactly. That's why I support your point.
Yes.
That if it was not shown in the boarding pass to the Deputy CM that the boarding time was 10:45, why would Deputy CM ask to reopen the gate? Deputy CM's point is valid to the point that his original timing was not being kept by the aircraft. That is the only point. So that is why, otherwise normally one cannot dictate the timing of the aircraft. It should follow the scheduled time. We cannot accept any kind of, forcing or using muscle power or influence. This is totally unacceptable. I am a very humble person and I always go by the rules of law, proper behavior, and without causing any inconvenience to anybody. At somebody's cost, if I avail anything, this is unacceptable.
But Mr. Rijiju, when an aircraft's doors are closed, there is a DGCA kind of protocol to it. An aircraft drawer, when closed, as I understand it, cannot be opened unless there are very compelling circumstances that are security related or technical related. Closing, a closed door was open for you, even if the airline was at fault, even if the airline rescheduled its flight. And by the way, there are two versions of that because the schedule shows 10:20 a.m. But मान लिया, 1 minute के लिए मान लिया कि airline की गलती थी, sir. But once a plane door is closed, could you not have waited, taken the next flight? If there wasn't a next flight, gone back the next day, because that's what an ordinary passenger would have had to do, Mr. Rijiju.
Yeah, I agree that. I mean, like if it was not originally scheduled at the boarding time at 10:45, there's no reason to ask the pilot. I think you should see the complaint letter of Deputy CM. I think he has explained it in his letter to the Civil Aviation Minister. I think once you go through it, then the picture will be clear. My case is only when I got information that my chopper is not coming. Then only I asked the administration that is it possible? They say, yeah, there's a time.
Yes.
Then they gave me ticket. So my case is, that's why I did not argue with anybody or the pilot and all. Because
but
the
you know,
PCM
sir,
had a valid
yes,
original timing of 10:45 boarding time. That is why he had a point. So we must understand it.
Sir, you are Minister of State for Home, sir. Security comes under your domain, the security of this country. Leh is an Air Force controlled airport. It's a sensitive airport. It is not considered safe that once a plane's doors are closed, whosever fault it may have been, they are reopened for anybody unless there's a bomb threat or a technical threat or something very compelling. Sir, I ask you to reflect on that irony. You said you're a humble person. I know you to be a humble person. As a humble person, sir, are you willing to just say, I'm sorry this entire chaos has taken place, it was avoidable?
Oh, yes, definitely. It's a very bad, and those inconvenience caused by all this whole operation because of us or because of the airports, for the airline officials, for anybody. We must say sorry to the passengers because it is our moral duty as well as obligation to ensure that the passengers are not put into unnecessary harassment. So it is very bad, and then we must ensure in future that because of this kind of misconduct, miscommunication, or wrong handling of the timing and all, it should not create any kind of inconvenience to the common passengers. We must be very careful about that.
Sir, you say the airline was at fault. Your colleague Nirmal Singh says the pilot was at fault. Are you willing to say that you and Nirmal Singh may also have been at fault partially?
Yes, if the departure,
yes,
which was scheduled at I think 11:40, and the boarding time to begin at 10:40 was unilaterally changed, then the PCM, we are not at fault. But if it is changed because of a valid reason, then I think we must explain, because whatever is the cause or reaction, there must be a valid reason. That is why some of the passengers told me that, yes, sir, you're right, because we also did not get information that the flight timing has been changed.
Yes.
So these are, two versions. So whatever may be the reason, I think because of this, if innocent people or innocent passengers, who has...
Because there were three people... Sir, there were three people... Sir, there were three people... Sir,
it's a bad. It should happen.
Because, sir, you yourself said you were not even the original passenger on the plane, but there were three people who could not travel. One was the delay aspect. The second was, in a sense, they were taken off to accommodate you. So do you regret that?
Yeah, that is very bad. We must say sorry to those people who are offloaded, and those who are offloaded, it is totally wrong, and we must ensure that such conduct is not repeated. Why would a genuine passenger be offloaded? This is totally wrong, and I would like to say through you that the passengers, especially, I was told that I am so busy right now in Kalimpong and Darjeeling area because of this disaster of landslides and all. So many people died and all. I could not speak properly there, but I think those offloaded people deserves to be treated properly, and whoever is the reason. We all must say sorry, even if because of me, not in my knowledge, if district administration or the pilot or the officials have anything done wrong, on behalf of them also, I will say sorry, because this is unacceptable. It should not be done.
So I'm very glad to hear you say that. And a last question, sir, since you're willing to say sorry to those who were offloaded or could not plane because you were on that flight, you say you didn't know. So one last question, why blame the pilot, sir? That's disturbing. Why are you both blaming the pilot?
I'm traveling, actually. I'm not able to hear you properly.
Okay, can you hear me, sir?
Hello, actually, I will...
All right, Kiran Rijiju, thank you so much. Kiran Rijiju traveling in a remote area right now, speaking to us. But very importantly, Mr. Rijiju, I believe, is back. Mr. Rijiju, one last question. It was very good to hear you. It was very good to hear you say we are ready to say sorry to those who could not travel because of us. I ask you, would you extend that same courtesy to the pilot? The pilot was only doing his job, sir. Why call the pilot rude?
Yeah, there I told the pilot that if it's not your fault, then it's a sorry. And now also nothing wrong in saying that. But the thing is that if the rescheduling is not with a valid reason, then I think the officials must explain to the passengers and the Deputy CM. As I said, I don't have right to claim because I got the ticket only after knowing that I have time to travel by this aircraft. If I had known that it was 10:20, that I would have stayed back and continued with the Sindhu Darshan.
Sir, last question. Now that you know that all this happened, you say you were not in the know. Now that you know that all this happened, and now that you know that the Indian Air Force report actually says in writing that the air traffic control was asked to delay the plane to accommodate VIPs. I'm quoting directly from the Indian Air Force report. You can imagine how it looks to the ordinary citizens of this country. It looks like you all were basically doing Netagiri and VIP-giri.
That is why, no, it is bad. It is bad. That is why I said that this is also bad. And the rescheduling of the timing is also bad. Why should flight? Please, if you club this together, then you will understand. No, that the changing of the aircraft timing, departure timing, is not conforming with what it was originally scheduled. So once that is understood,
sir, but the schedule shows 10:20 a.m. departure, sir. This is the
that is at the last moment. No, that whatever you are saying is what is being shown at the last moment. Even if we were told in the morning 8 o'clock that it is 10:20, then I would have skipped that flight.
Sir, still this was an avoidable situation, sir. Sir, another ordinary person could not have got the plane to open its doors. And you say you're humble. You've already apologized to the passengers. I'm sure this has been an embarrassing and avoidable episode for you as minister.
Yes. I felt very bad because of the mishandling of the officials for the flight timing.
Yes.
We feel embarrassed, no, that to open the door and whatever delaying and all. It's very embarrassing, no. We should avoid such thing. And for the aircraft also, from now onward, even if they reschedule the departure time and all, they should inform well in advance so that such misunderstanding is avoided.
Kiran Rijiju, thank you so much for talking to us.
Zafar Iqbal now joins us from Srinagar. Zafar, officials have confirmed to you that the flight was delayed because of the Minister of State for Home?
Well, that's right. In fact, senior officers at the Leh airport confirming to us that, of course, the flight was delayed because the ministers reached late. Now, there were 3 people who were given the boarding passes. They were asked to stand on a standby just in case the ministers don't turn up. But since the ministers came, then they were asked to go, and the way was made for the ministers to go into the aircraft. But the problem was that there was an altercation between the Deputy Chief Minister and the pilot. The boarding pass of the Deputy Chief Minister mentioning that the flight boarding is at 10:45 p.m. But the flight takeoff is just at 10:20 p.m. 10:20 in the morning. So that was the confusion. But then ultimately it's the passengers who had to suffer because of this. They had to keep waiting for all this time. And Nirmal Singh, in fact, I spoke to him in the morning. He said that some passengers, in fact, complained to him that they have been waiting for all this time, and he apologized to them. But he was very, he said that the pilot was very rude, and that's why he's taken up the matter with the Home Ministry and he's complained to them. But all in all, it's the people who have suffered because of all this and because of the VIP culture that's again come to the fore. Amitabh?
Zafar Iqbal reporting from Srinagar, and the Prime Minister's office has also sought a report from the Civil Aviation Ministry.